you everyone for joining us for our annual Veterans Day Assembly. At this time, I would ask that you please rise to the presentation of colors by the Newark High School Junior Honors and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Allison McAlpine.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Scary. Colors. From the hall. Right turn. March. Forward. March.
At this time, we're going to get a brief history behind Veterans Day. That's going to be presented by 8th grader Jasmine Stroll.
In 1919, President Wilson commemorated the first Armistice Day, which commemorated the end of World War I, at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month. In 1938, it was made a legal federal holiday for all. However, after World War II and the Korean War, Congress recognized it needed to expand the meaning of the day to recognize all of our veterans, not just those of World War I. In 1954, the word armistice was placed with veterans as a way to firmly include all veterans of all American wars. Today, Veterans Day is a federal holiday which many celebrate with parades and ceremonies. It is not only a day to remember those who have served our country in the past, but also those who currently serve. At this time, I would like any veterans in attendance to please rise and be recognized.
thank you to our orchestra performers and to Ms. Brinker, who's filling in for Miss Klein today, who's not able to make it to school. So thank you for filling in and helping out with the orchestra. I know they appreciate that, Ms. Brinker. Up next, we have a guest speaker in the building today who has, as long as I can remember, been our guest speaker at these Veterans Day assemblies, and there's a reason why, because he has great stories. He's very passionate about what he talks to you about, and he loves passing on these stories to you. So please give him your undivided attention today, and I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Arlen Hill.
Thank you. Appreciate being here this afternoon. It's always a thrill and a delight to come and share just a few moments of your time. Today I want to talk about what it means when you go into the military to serve your country. Well, you do have a lot of enjoyable experiences, but mainly it's a lot of hard work and sacrifice. We pay that sacrifice for one reason, and that's to preserve, protect, and defend our freedom. President Reagan said in his first inaugural address in 1981, he said the price of freedom can be high. We've never been unwilling to pay that price. Peace is one of the greatest aspirations that we can have here in the United States. We will negotiate. We will sacrifice for it. We will never surrender for it, now or ever. Tell you a story. About 2 weeks ago, I was on the internet and run across a Norwegian professor from Oslo, and he was looking for veterans to participate in a roundhouse discussion with his students, what it meant to be a veteran and what it meant to serve your country during the Cold War. And I thought, sure, why not? I'll do it. Some of the questions I got were rather pointed. For instance, one person said, what was it like serving your country so far from home? How did your family react? I said, well, at the time, I didn't have any family other than my parents and my sisters and brothers. But that didn't diminish the fact that I was willing to serve my country and to sacrifice maybe the opportunity to go to college, maybe the opportunity to start a family, maybe the opportunity to get a job here in the United States or in the local area. And I said, because that I was willing to sacrifice, I feel that I made a difference. And each one of you can make a difference in somebody's life as well, whether you serve in uniform or whether you serve in another capacity. Some of the other questions were, how did it make you feel to be representing your country in other nations around the world? And I said, well, I was an ambassador in blue. I served my country, but I was very respectful of the host nation where I was at. We were always told there were two types of Americans. There were ugly Americans, and there were ambassadors in blue. The ugly American is the one that wears their patriotism on their sleeve. They go out and they brag about how great the United States is at the cost of running down the host nation. But the ambassador in blue is the one that respects the host nation and gratefully listens to people and learns new things every day. No matter what you're doing, whether you're working behind a desk or whether you're working on the flight line or whether you're carrying a rifle or whether you're working on a submarine or an aircraft carrier, it makes no difference. You're still representing this great nation that so many people have worn the uniform prior to you and will wear the uniform beyond you in the future. Sacrifice is a price that we pay. But you know what? If you make a difference, then it's well worth the price. And besides that, we are a free nation because men and women wore the uniform in places like Vietnam, in places like Korea, during World War II, during World War I, in our own Civil War, and clear back to the days of the American Revolution, when we were just 13 colonies that were fighting for rebellion against Great Britain. But it said in the U.S. Declaration of Independence that these men, these founding fathers that wrote this document, pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor, so that we could be a free nation. Benjamin Franklin, when he was told that they would probably hang for treason, he said, well, we can either hang together or we can hang separately. Personally speaking, I prefer to hang together because it shows unity. We show unity here. Your motto is one team, one heartbeat. That's showing unity. And when we represent the United States, whatever branch we are, whether we're Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, or Coast Guard, we may laugh, we may kid, we may joke about the other services. When the rubber meets the road, we're standing shoulder to shoulder together to fight for the greater good. Tell you a little story with this, I'll close. George Washington, who we all know is the first president of the United States and the highest ranking military officer this country has seen, was getting up to speak at the end of his life, and he spoke before his farewell address. He had some issues he had to deal with, and a lot of people didn't like where it was going, and they were prepared to shout him down, even though he had commanded this army for a long time, and he had served as the first president of the United States. General Washington got up to speak, and he stopped for a moment. He kind of looked at his notes, and he took out a pair of glasses, cleaned them off. Meanwhile, everybody's just getting ready to shout him down. And he looked at everybody and he said, I hope you will excuse me, as I have grown blind in the service of my country. There was dead silence in that room for just a moment. And then everybody stood up and they applauded the general as he made his address. And he said at the end of it, he goes, come and take me by the hand, every one of you. Because they had a bond to share. They fought under this man. They stood in the mud. They stood in the snow at Valley Forge. And they stood in places like Philadelphia's Independence Hall when they were working on establishing the new government, the Articles of Confederation, then the Constitution of the United States. And here were men that sacrificed their families, their jobs as farmers, or as maybe country lawyers, or as merchantmen. And they went out and they picked up a rifle and fought the British. Generations after that picked up rifles and served their country, be they from small farms or be they from big cities, be they graduates from high school or be they PhDs, be they men or be they women. They served their country so that generations that lay ahead would have freedom. That would be you folks. And I know that one day Some of you will pick up a rifle or go into the U.S. military and serve your country so that generations beyond, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren will experience the same thing. May you have fair winds and following seas, as they say in the Navy, or may you have clear winds in your flight to life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Always a pleasure to hear you speak. Appreciate you. Up next, we have Samara Scriber here introducing a piece of the choir is going to sing.
Next, we have the 6th and 8th grade choir will be singing today. We sing with Alaska Folk Friends American Sabbath.
Very well done. Thank you, Ms. Speakman, and all of our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade choir members. It takes a lot to coordinate that piece. You guys did a great job. Up next, we have a little video tribute that was created by few students here at Heritage Middle School. And so I'm going to allow them to come up and introduce their video, and then we'll take a minute and get it started over here for you.
And up next is our Veterans Day video created by me, Myla James,
Me, Savannah Thomas.
and Gia. I hope you enjoy it and thank you for coming.
One nation, under God, indivisible.
For all.
I'm sure you'll be very, very happy with this present. Yeah.
Veterans Day to me is a special day that we think about all the sacrifices that many men and women made to allow us the freedoms that we have today. Because without them and the sacrifices they made and are currently making, we wouldn't live in a free country that we live in today. So that's what it means to me. It's just a special day to really honor them and thank them for all that they've done to make this such a great country.
Veterans Day to me means celebrating all of the brave men and women who have fought for this country in the past. My grandfather was in World War II, so this day has a lot of special meaning to me. So it's just a day where we get to dedicate it all to the people who have given the ultimate sacrifice and continue to do that for our country so that way we can be safe.
Veterans Day to me means it's a day that we honor the men and women that are veterans that have given us the freedom to be able to do what we choose to do.
Veterans Day means to me thanking those who go to war and fight for our freedoms every day.
I think Veterans Day is about honoring veterans because for serving in the Army because they put their life out there to save us.
Okay. I had my dad, my two uncles, and my brother all served in the military, and I wanted to thank them and everyone who serves to protect our country. Thank you.
So what I think about Veterans Day is my grandpa, because my grandpa did serve in the Navy, and I thank him every Veterans Day about serving and helping the country, and he makes really good food on that day. And I appreciate him very much for that, and he's awesome, he's amazing, and I would never pick any other grandpa than him. He helped me through tough times.
To me, Veterans Day is about remembering and honoring those who have served and given the ultimate sacrifice for our country so we can have the freedoms and live the lives that we do today.
What does Veterans Day mean to me, you may ask? Well, I believe the moral to everyone's answer is the same, but everything leading up to the moral is different. To me, Veterans Day is a memorial, but also a day to remember, to honor, to relive, and to give thanks for all the bravery, leadership, and perseverance that our country's soldiers put forth and fought with. But lastly, to not only recognize and remember the fallen and those who sacrificed their lives for our country, knowing that they might not make it back to their families, but to also recognize the ones in our lives today, making a choice to fight and sacrifice their lives, and the ones that know that nothing will be easy, but they will never give in. We give thanks to them. We praise them on this day because we know that we are safe and that they will never let anything bad happen to our country. And that's what means the world. And that right there is what Veterans Day means to me.
Thank you, everybody, for part of that as well. At this time, we have William Wooker to introduce our final musical piece for this afternoon.
Next up, performing American Folk Trilogy will be the 7th and 8th grade line band.
Thank you, Ms. Bricker and the Lion Band. Very good job. Students, by show of hands, how many of you either have somebody in your family or you know somebody close that is a veteran of any armed forces? Okay. I'm seeing almost everybody in here put their hands up. So hopefully Veterans Day is a very special day for you, and you go out of your way to thank those that you know that spent time and made that sacrifice to help continue to make this a free country that we live in. But I also want to challenge you not to only recognize them on Veterans Day, but throughout the year, periodically, thank them for their service and everything that they did to help you get to where you are and help this be such a great country to live in. Because without any of their service, none of this would be possible. The veterans that are in attendance today, let's give them another round of applause.